Ladies and gentlemen, we live in hell. My name is Kevin Jacobs, and thank you for tuning in for at least the second time here, as I still figure this out. I haven't even posted the first one publicly yet. I've sent it out to a few friends for whatever sort of validation I need as a as a person who can't ever make a decision on anything, particularly when it regards me or if it involves my opinion on whether or not something is good. Yeah, I don't know. So let's. I'm gonna just get right into it here because this has been something that has plagued me my entire life, and somehow everyone keeps dropping the fucking ball. Then inside this UFO report that I have been waiting for ever since this guy who just I love Jeremy Corbell and the work that he's doing. His documentary about Bob Lazar, all that stuff. It's great. It's great that it is becoming more in the public lexicon. People are talking about it. There's more of it is definitely not as taboo of a thing to admit to having an interest in. When I was a kid, you ran the very real risk of being called a fucking dork if you got too heavy on this stuff. But I am a fucking dork, and I have been just ever since. I mean, there were two things when I was a kid that would make me unable to sleep, and I loved both of them. I guess three. One of them, Jolt Cola, the other, Unsolved Mysteries, and the third would be the show Sightings, which in hindsight was a terrible show, but it's what got me interested into it. And then had to put through my parents through the ordeal of seeing their 8-year-old kid taking out weird books from the library, and not nearly as bad as the time that my dad. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love to hand transcribe lyrics of songs, even if the CD or cassette that I had the lyrics printed in them. It was just it had to be in my hand. I had to write it, and I hand wrote the lyrics to oh god, what it was a song by The Offspring off of their album Smash. So we're talking, this is like 94, 95, and there's a song where the chorus of the song goes, "I'm sitting on my bed and I'm lying wide awake. There's demons in my head and it's more than I can take." That's the line. And I pretty sure I had the whole song written out, but my father, who in 94, he was 50 already. When he found this letter, my dad was never much of like a wordsmith, like my sex talk growing up was, he literally sat me down at a kitchen table, threw a condom across the table and said, "Put a helmet on your soldier before you send him into battle." He was not a man of many words. So, it wasn't really, this was one of the more awkward conversations I'm confident that I've ever put him through in his time with me. And I remember he just put the piece of paper down and like very concerned was like, what the fuck is this? Because I mean, if you're 8-year-olds writing about there's demons in my head and it's more than I can take, I understand. And this is like before, Columbine or anything. So it wasn't like I was setting off the normal red flags that you would maybe be looking for nowadays. But I still remember the wash of relief that I watched take him over when I was like, no, stupid, I wrote this. This isn't, no, you know what I mean? This isn't me. And I think he probably could have pressed the issue a little bit more with me, because there's still the question, well, why are you fucking writing this down, you weirdo? But I think he was just glad to find out that I won't say that I wasn't as fucked up as he clearly was at the moment concerned I might be. Anyway, the UFO. Oh, no, I'm knocking stuff over. Everything feels so loud when I do things around me because I'm not used to this, that I don't even know if you can. I heard people talking outside before because my windows are the thickness of maybe a mid-grade cardboard. So, anyway, this UFO report, I've been waiting for a long time for this because, like I said, I thought it was bizarre that we were getting to a point culturally where this was coming up more regularly and people were not as afraid to talk about it anymore. And I think it helped that a lot of the claims coming out these days are from military people who, you would hope, as far as being capable of observations of have the speed at which something is I trust these guys more than some jerk off in the woods who saw some lights, and I'm one of those jerk offs. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying that this guy he's a little bit more credible coming from the military, and I'm glad that those dudes don't immediately have the scarlet letter emblazoned on them when they come forward anymore, because from what I understand, being in the military and ever talking about this thing was any of these kind of things was a surefire way to be, I'm sure, brutally mocked, and also have your entire reputation and career planted firmly in the dirt, which none of that's appealing. So I am happy with that. But again, this Jeremy Corbell guy, he does good work. He's getting these videos released, but and as always the case in this UFO world, there is just always something slightly off where you're just like, are you nuts? Are you nuts? Like, you're putting out the information that I want, you're backing it up, you're getting it from good sources, but then there's always this like extra little bit of woo-woo kind of stuff that I just feel like it always ends up placing it more on the like, oh, maybe this guy's full of shit side of things. And again, that might just be my perception. I don't know if maybe after all this time of watching people do that, I'm looking for this, the golden witness who's got everything documented and is well-spoken and has no weird little eccentricities about them. And maybe that's asking too much from, maybe I'm asking too much. But there's just, like I said, I like this guy. He's funny. I love watching how like excited he gets about stuff. Like, you could tell that, but again, if there is some sort of power structure that is allowing him to be the guy that is getting this stuff out there, it almost feels like they're like, well, yeah, because if we ever have to pull the plug on this whole thing, we could just say that this guy's a fucking lunatic. Because look at his Instagram, and anything that's not just a direct photo, there's a lot of just kind of odd stuff where, again, maybe that's just me. Maybe his energy outside of anything that I'm interested in is just too much for me to handle, because that's often the case with people and myself. And I think that's a big reason why I come across a certain way to some people that I don't know, and the first time that I meet them is just because I'm just real suspect of real high energy people, because I know from my experience that high energy, it's usually drug induced or mania. And I don't know that I'm viewing my entire world through that, and I'm sure that there are folks out there that are just genuinely energetic and positive, but I can't stand those people. I'm just kidding. I'm just a curmudgeon. I'm not kidding, though. I do feel that way, but I understand that I'm probably the problem and not them. And this report that took months, it's 9 pages long. 9 pages. I mean, I guess if you only had one explanation for 100, I just feel like to even like describe 144 sightings before even getting into what their possible explanation is would be a little bit more than 9 pages. How big is the font? The categories that they even use in this report are also just kind of confusing. They use this soft language that I almost feel like it's just meant to, I don't know if maybe this is just a me thing, but if I'm reading something and it is being explained in like a weird way where they're just using words, well, what else would they be using? I don't know, like they're attempting to be, not sound smart or use big words, because I'm just not trying to sound like a moron, but it almost just feels like they use this language that if you're reading, you're going to glaze over it, not give it a second thought, but also not really digest what it is supposed to mean. So it's just weird how they did this. It's never, there's, again, it goes back to there never being anything that's just straightforward in this world, in this world, period, and mostly in this UFO UAP world. It's stuff like the categories are they sound boring. Natural phenomena and airborne clutter. What is airborne clutter? Like the room that I'm in has a bit of clutter. If it became airborne, I am burning this house down. It's just, and another one of the, they pose other ideas too, such as secret government projects and advanced technology not made here, by foreign adversaries. Not, I don't mean space, I mean other countries. And then one of the categories was other. And again, like, we would never accept such vague details in any other sort of report. Like, if when they were doing the COVID thing, they were like, yeah, being close to each other, obviously sneezing and coughing directly on one another, not good. But then there's a whole other list of things you shouldn't do to keep yourself safe against this. And then if everybody was like, well, what are they? And they're just like, well, it's just other stuff. If you eat 6 hot dogs per day, I heard, maybe, you're going to beat the COVID. So basically, this report did effectively nothing to sort of, again, to use their own terms, confirm or deny the existence of anything that we can confirm as off-world. Now, there are people privately outside of their positions in the government or in military who have, made some real bold claims as far as, having possession of things that may have come from somewhere else and landed here. And this is all deeply interesting to me. But my main point was just, again, this report comes out, it's just kind of vague without a lot of substance to it. And then, like, the greatest hope that we have recently in this world is this Jeremy Corbell guy who gets like this really good information out, but is also kind of like a 1,000-yard stare psycho in other venues. And then Tom fucking DeLonge. And like, if for anyone who actually knows me, I like worshipped blindly at the altar of Tom DeLonge as a teenager. It's the reason why I play guitar now. I don't have any affinity for that style of music at this point in my life, but it was the reason why I started playing guitar at 12 years old, and it was because of Blink-182, who I would just regularly laugh, making fart, dick, and shit jokes. And now this guy is like releasing actual information that's being declassified by the government, and he's like working with them, but mixing it into works of fiction and nonfiction to safely dole out the message without being too direct. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It just seems like there's always this weird fucking cloud of, and I don't know if it's just plausible deniability, like, like they're able to like give you so much, but then they gotta like also throw you the curveball of maybe this is all horse shit. It's just like, I just want one solid person. It's just crazy that this some guy who looks like he's been on an ayahuasca retreat and some guy that used to fucking play songs about fucking his dad, that these are the best that we've got is funny and also deeply frustrating. So I mean, at a certain point, it almost feels like someone's just playing a game with you. I don't even know what the point of the game would be. Maybe it's just fun. I don't know. It's undeniable that it has entered the public lexicon at 1,000,000 miles an hour. People are talking about it. It's everywhere. Joe Rogan's on there yammering it. Yeah, dude. Like, it's everywhere, and this was something that you never saw when I was a kid, or even as recently as 10 years ago. It was much more reserved for almost like this supernatural kind of view. You know, it would be lumped in with ghost stories and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's just, I've been into this for a long time, and it's just very weird to me how this has all become public conversation now, but it's still convoluted with the same cloudy layer of what in the fuck as it always was. So, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. So, I'm going to just move off of this because I feel like this is something that I could go off for a while, but I don't. It's the second episode. I don't need to be coming off the rails talking about fucking the Aurora Project here. So, this was, God, a sign of the times. The New York Times reports that fireworks-related injuries and deaths jumped during the pandemic. 18 people in the U.S. died in the year 2020 after episodes with fireworks. It was only 12. That's up from 12 from the previous year. So I guess, I mean, we're not really... It's a 50% increase. Did this all happen in Kentucky? Montana. You know, I mean, how much are we supposed to put into these sorts of things? A couple of wackos out in God's country blew their fucking fingers off with some Roman candles, and I thought this was going to be like some overwhelming amount. And this leads, and I feel like this is half the fun where like I start talking about things as if I've already done the research. I have not. But I would have thought that, these maybe people who were upset over the outcome of the election, maybe they were getting blown off a little steam and lighting off some fireworks. I do know that here in Pennsylvania, where they are legal for maybe like a year or two, and already people are like, did we make the right decision with that? Because it just seems to be a mixture of people who are upset about fireworks because of their dogs, which I understand. People who are upset over fireworks for the sake of veterans, which feels like a weird argument if you're not a veteran. And then people who just think it's fucking annoying. I feel like I fall into that camp. I'm all for a good time, but I feel like I should be choosing to go to a fireworks display instead of playing the fun game, is it fireworks or gunshots, near my home. But again, I would have thought that in this year after the way the election went for 48% of our country, I would have thought that maybe that would have been a route that they took to, let out some of that energy. Let out some of that energy. Could have been firing Roman candles at the cops at the Capitol. Wouldn't that have been fun? Instead of trampling them. It said about 15,000 people went to the emergency room because of fireworks, which was, again, over 50% increase from 2019. And this was happening when hospitals were overwhelmed by COVID cases. So it's like there's a pandemic going on. These people are dying in the rooms. And then you got, JR from Tuscaloosa coming in with a fucking severed phalange because he got his hands on a hot set of M80s and couldn't get it out of there quick enough. I remember when I was a kid, I watched my friend Ryan, who I don't believe he's doing well now. The last I heard, he was like arrested in his driveway with large quantities of drugs. But before his life went down the shitter, we were friends when we were kids, and I have this memory of being in his living room, and I don't know where he got it from, but he had a quarter stick of dynamite, and again, I don't know, we were in his house, so the idea that because I remember him like doing it in a taunting way, but I mean, he's the one holding the explosive and we're in his home, so I don't understand but I just remember, I feel like he was just fucking with us, trying to scare us, playing with the lighter near the wick of this quarter stick, and he lit it, sitting on his couch. And then he jumped up, freaking out. Obviously, I'm a moron. I'm like, run it underwater. He's like, they're waterproof, you asshole. So then I'm trying to find scissors for him to like cut this thing, and it's just burning. It is just burning down. And it was like out of a movie. Like he gets down the stairs and starts fucking with the lock on the doorknob as if it's the first time he's ever seen it. Finally gets the door open, pops the screen door open, launches this quarter stick, and it doesn't even break it doesn't even get past the first step on his porch. It explodes right outside his door. This kid would have been fucked. And I would have saw it, and it would have been on me to call 911. And that's the part that I'm most worried about. Thank God he made it. I mean, he didn't make it ultimately. Things aren't going well, like I said, but that time he made it. It says 66% of the fireworks-related injuries happened from June 21st to July 21st, which no shit. Even for me, that feels like a big window for what's supposed to be for the 4th of July. And the fact that there's another 34% of people that did this outside of that time frame, I mean, come on, guys. And the leading sources for the injuries year-round were firecrackers and sparklers. You fucking assholes. Firecrackers and Jesus Christ, I thought it was for sure going to be, M80s, quarter sticks, Roman candles, the giant fuckers that you put displays on with. Firecrackers and sparklers? I'm sorry. If you go into an emergency room, especially during a pandemic, and you're like, I got burned by a sparkler, they should legally be allowed to punch you in the trachea and then give you a room for something more serious than a sparkler burn. Unless you're a kid. But even then, I mean, suck it up, dude. Fucking Jesus Christ. The number of injuries last year was the highest since 2001. Which was the earliest year that data was available on this topic. 2001 was it? Maybe like 9/11 took the wind out of sails. I would have thought that the fucking displays in 2002 would have been goddamn epic. I don't know. That's what I would have thought. Or, I mean, they were probably diverting too much money into carpet bombing the Middle East at that point, but that's, speaking of which, we're doing great. We're at it again. U.S. fighter jets, they bombed some Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria. They're saying it was a response to Iranian militias using drones against U.S. troops in Iraq, which was a response to a U.S. attack in February that we initiated, which was a response to a militia attack a few days before that. And can you see why this might not be productive? We're just doing the same thing all over again. We're just doing the same thing all over again. And as I suspected, I did not like, to be clear, I was not a Donald Trump fan. But what I said was going to happen is happening. And that is that a lot of the left who are very loud and very not with Donald Trump are sort of just blindly accepting and taking what Joe Biden and this administration is doing now without a sense of irony at all. And my whole thing was okay, so within the first week he was carpet bombing Syria, and the kids were still in cages, and like everybody sort of just quieted down. My social media pages are far less inflammatory than they were, and that's on all sides. And I feel like that's very telling because people who were all for Trump, they have shied away from political topics and don't have a lot to say. People who supported Biden, they fell away from political topics and don't have much to say about his blunders, which are regular and glaring. I mean, the guy called Syria Libya like 4 fucking times. I mean, at what point are we willing to accept that we're just watching a sequel to Weekend at Bernie's that no one wanted? A Pentagon spokesman, they justified this most recent airstrike as, quote, necessary, appropriate, and deliberate action designed to limit the risk of escalation, but also to send a clear and unambiguous deterrent message. I'm not sure how bombing the shit out of them could be misconstrued as ambiguous or unclear. Has the deterrent message ever worked? Have they ever gotten the message? Have you ever like blown something up and been like, "See, I'm warning you"? And has that ever has anyone ever been like, "All right, I see your point"? So again, it's just more, they think that we are all stupid and most of us are. Um and I mean, there's people that are trying to paint this as in like Biden is in some sort of hard spot. Um he doesn't want to deepen our he doesn't want to invest any more money or lives into Afghanistan. um he they're I guess they're trying to downplay this by saying this was actually our smallest attack option. um we were recommending just full scorched earth, but we were more reserved and we went with the smallest attack option. It's just again, it's odd messaging. um he did send a message to the leaders in Tehran telling them that he did not seek a wider conflict with them, but they had to bring their militias in Iraq under control. We got to rein in. I don't have a problem with your gang, but we got to rein in a few of your boys. They're out there fucking being wild, and I mean, this is the mob. This is the mob. And it's never been more clear than when you start looking at the language that they use to describe these situations. It's fucking unreal, man. I don't know. There's about 165,000 active duty troops in more than 150 countries around the world. It might deter some aggression against our friends for a while, by reminding them that we have the capability to blow shit up very well. But there's plenty of other countries where it's total fucking chaos there anyway, and things are exploding on a daily basis. So like, fuck your bombs. We got bigger problems. Um, I don't know, because there's going to be somebody then there's always going to be some war being waged in that area where someone's principles line up as such that like I'm willing to do something real bad to get my point across. So I feel like having these people spread out, especially thinly, um, if the other shoe does drop and you get that, one person who really is looking to make a bang, you're going to get people killed when they might not have. I don't know. I'm not coming up with any new angle here, but it's just like, how long are we supposed to buy the narrative of like why we're occupying these countries? Um, I get it. You pull out, it creates a power vacuum. I don't know. I mean, there's people way smarter that make a bunch of money to fucking know this stuff. Not me, but like I can sit here and tell you that I don't think we're doing it right. Armchair general. Um, but I mean, it's total chaos, and we're stirring the pot, and it's going to just continue to go that way. It seems forever and ever until the end of time, until someone finally fires that one, the end shot. Um, so, I mean, in lighter news, to maybe give some hope to that situation, a black hole has recently feasted on a neutron star, and then it did it again a few days later. Um, Astronomers had long suspected that, collisions between black holes and dead stars occurred, but they had no evidence of it until it happened twice in 10 days. In January, this is from the New York Times, this is Kenneth Chang. In January last year, astronomers definitively observed for the first time a black hole swallowing a dead star. 10 days later, they saw the same act of scavenging happen again in a different and distant sector of the cosmos. Um, this is big because it's the first time that they've been able to detect a neutron star and a black hole colliding with one another, which is just proof that none of this matters. We all got a day, and we should probably stop being annoying assholes about stuff that really just ultimately doesn't matter. There's a longer article here, and it's full of dork speak and stuff that I don't. I would just be talking out of school about, but it gets better. How about this lady? This French authorities are searching for a woman who they said left the scene after a German cyclist crashed into the sign she was attempting to get on television, setting off a pileup during the first stage of the Tour de France. She's like Lance Armstrong's assistant. They were looking for the woman because she got away somehow in like this heavily populated and I'm sure secure area after being like hit by a bike. And I don't know, I can't, it's hilarious to me that this lady got away and they're having like an Eric Rudolph-esque search for her. Footage from the scene, it shows her standing, over the barrier, holding a sign out for the camera that, of the lead car filming the race to see. And I mean, these dudes are riding, like inches from one another, and they are edge to edge on the road. And there's not a single space for error in this fucking lady who definitely has a TikTok account was just holding a sign for her wine club ladies to see, and she just gets leveled by this bike, and she sets off a chain reaction unlike anything I've ever seen in one of these. I guess this happens from time to time in these races, but under the circumstances, it wasn't like, somebody blew a tire or, clipped someone on a pass. This was just some dumb lady with a fucking sign like she's outside of the Today Show and ruins an international. I mean, I feel like some countries would consider this an act of war. The authorities from the French department, they were asking for witnesses to help identify them. The woman who held the banner, which said, it's not English, I'm not going to try that. The French word for go, along with 2 German terms of endearment for grandparents. So wait, were her grandparents in the race? Or was she cheering them on for something else via a sign at the race? I mean, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but before the crash, she appeared to be facing away from the racers and toward the television camera. Like I said, she's not there to watch the race. She's there to make some sort of statement or go viral, and boy, could she have never imagined the level to which she would succeed. It happened during the first of the race's 21 stages in the municipality of Saint-Cloud, according to the authorities. Police said the woman who was wearing glasses and a yellow jacket left the scene. She's wearing a bright fucking yellow jacket. I mean, French cops, they gotta be, I gotta believe that they're just the worst. Drunk on the job, just like cannot be bothered. I'm reminded of the French police from Home Alone 2. I think I might have invented that. I don't know. The deputy director of cycling with the Amaury Sports organization, which runs the Tour de France, told the publication this weekend that the organization planned to sue the woman. We're doing this so that the tiny minority of people who do this don't spoil the show for everyone. Europe has like a long history of like, streakers on the soccer field, and it would just be, they don't want to make this a habit. Because those dudes, I mean, I forget where it was. I saw a video recently of another cyclist that at one point he had to apologize for this because he like bumped a guy and it sent him off the rails and he like left on a stretcher and shit. But the shot of them riding down the road, it doesn't look like they're going very fast. But then the guy hits and like flies off the bike and it looks like he hit it at 70 miles an hour. I don't understand what the physics are of bike movement and inertia and momentum and how my eyes perceive that. All I know is that watching him leading up to that and then what happened from the hit onward, those two things did not align in my brain. But this collision, it was one of 2 major crashes on the first day of the race. I'm sure the other one wasn't due to a stupid lady with a sign for her dumb grandparents. It's not uncommon for the fans to, every time I see a clip from the Tour de France, there's people everywhere lining the streets, but most of them, and again, imagine lining up in the street, and I get it, the Tour de France is famous as shit, and it's like an institution over there, and I'm a moron, but the idea of like leaving my house and going and, standing around a bunch of people, picking a spot that they're going to just hurl through in seconds, and I guess maybe it'll be over minutes for the whole lot of them. Oh, I just almost knocked over my light, gesturing to nobody. It's just a funny thing I guess I just sort of feel the same way about golf. I don't know. If you feel differently, keep it to yourself. What? Can you hear this? It sounds like my neighbors are fighting or something. Hang on. Hey, shut the fuck up. I'm recording a podcast no one's gonna listen to. God damn it. Alright. Sounded like a fight. It's not a fight. So yeah, I mean, these people line the streets like all the time. I see it all the time, and I don't. I'm sure this had to have happened before. She's gonna be like the Steve Bartman of cycling. Steve Bartman, he's the guy. He caught a ball at a Cubs game that could have been caught by the player, and it's a whole thing. There's a 30 for 30 on it. Go watch it. This was like 10 years ago. I remember a car hit a bunch of bikers, like not just a random car. I know that happens in France sometimes too. This was just like I feel like it was like a news crew. Hang on. Yeah, there was a car that was belonging to a news crew. It clipped a group of riders and sent one of them, Johnny Hoogerland of the Netherlands, barreling into a barbed wire fence. Jesus Christ, a barbed wire fence? Because a normal fence wouldn't have been... In 2018, several cyclists rode into a cloud of police tear gas that had been... Like, what is this, Global Guts? This is like their version of the aggro crag. Fucking ride your bike for 7 weeks through a bunch of mountains, and we're going to just throw in some barbed wire fences and clouds of tear gas to ride through. I'd watch that. I guess the tear gas had been intended for protesters, and it stopped the race for like 15 minutes as the riders were treated with eye drops. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't give a shit about bike riding. I just thought the video was funny. This lady gets absolutely walloped, and she's dressed like Harriet the fucking spy, and now they can't find this lady anywhere. She's like the Jason Bourne of dipshits with signs. It's very funny, very French. Yeah, so... Fox, I was gonna end it. I was gonna cut it right there, but I'm realizing now that I've pretty much rambled on about 2 to 3 topics, which maybe that's right in my wheelhouse. Maybe you've already turned this off. Maybe you're dumb. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe none of this is real. I just wanted to bring this up because it's just, again, I sometimes reality is presented in such a factual and nonchalant way that, but the message is still just so unfucking believable. So Fox News agrees to pay a $1 million penalty after workplace culture investigation. $1 million. Let's be clear, I am not saying that in a wow, that's a lot of money sense. I am saying that in a, is this just like a show? Like just a PR thing? I mean, between Roger Ayers or whatever that fucking slimeball's name was, Bill O'Reilly, what you've heard from Megyn Kelly and these other people portrayed by Nicole Kidman on television shows. Like, it wasn't good there. It wasn't good there. I know that, and that's not to say that some of the other media sources are. I mean, CNN is almost unwatchable these days. But I remember when it was maybe just like a year or two ago, Sean Hannity was like going hard on the journalistic integrity of Jim Acosta from CNN, and like Sean Hannity giving anyone advice on journalistic integrity is like John Wayne Gacy telling Patch Adams about his bedside manner. Like, you just shut the fuck up, dude. Anyway, $1 million after a workplace culture investigation, which sounds just like a joke. Starbucks, whatever training they did, because they ejected a dude from a start. It's like this, again, the pandering from these giant entities. I really wish that people understood what the power dynamic was, because they see the way that our culture is shifting and the way that we're leaning towards this, right or wrong. Obviously accountability for everyone is right. Again, we can get into the minutia of the cancel culture thing. It's sometimes right. But the fact that some of these giant industries, especially somebody like Fox, who like never aligned with the ideals of that side that would be mostly upset about these sorts of things, they just sell the wokeness back to you. Like Raytheon, they updated their profile picture on Facebook to include the rainbow. Like, we're woke. We don't discriminate who puts our weapons of death together, nor do we discriminate how we use them. It's just, $1 million. It is just sort of like putting up a sign that says, like, hey, we're better now. Come on. They agreed to pay a $1 million penalty under a settlement last week with the New York City Commission on Human Rights. The case stemmed from a cascade. They used the term cascade of sexual misconduct allegations that shook the network several years ago and led to the exits of Roger Ailes, its co-founder, and the anchor Bill O'Reilly, local drunk shitbag. Quote, "This is the largest civil penalty that has ever been levied by the City Commission on Human Rights." Congrats. Let me tell you this. I got a secret for you. If $1 million was the most, anything more than that would have still been the largest. I'm just saying. You don't have to throw that brag in there while you're like, yeah, this is the largest penalty that's ever been levied. Yeah, maybe. So this is quote, "This is the largest civil penalty that has ever been levied by the City Commission on Human Rights." Agency's chair and commissioner Carmelin Morales said in an interview on Tuesday, quote, "We need to send a message in order to deter future acts of harassment or retaliation." Yeah, and I mean, a quarter of your, God damn it, $1 million is definitely going to do that. Definitely going to do that. These have to be the loudest gardeners to have ever worked outside my house right now. Just like straight up sitting on like my neighbor's steps, talking and pulling weeds, but they are on the job. It's also like 90 some fucking degrees outside, so I guess I shouldn't break these guys' balls because their voices are penetrating my air-conditioned fortress here. But it's fucking annoying. If you can hear it, it's annoying, eh? The settlement, which was finalized on June 25th, it will prevent Fox News for the next 4 years from including in any new employment contracts a clause requiring confidential arbitration in cases where an employee lodges a complaint for the next 4 years. But then they can go back to... It also mandates that the network carry out a variety of anti-harassment training and prevention measures. So... will prevent Fox for the next 4 years from including in new employment contracts a clause requiring confidential arbitration in cases where an employee lodges a complaint. I mean, How much more clear do they have to be like, all right, we'll play your fucking game for 4 years. Here's $1 million. Piss off, and we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to playing the old game as soon as this 4 years is up. It's sort of just like our elections. Um, the Commission on Human Rights is the agency that enforces the city's anti-discrimination laws in workplaces, housing, public services, and other spheres. Ms. Morales said that the commission began investigating Fox News in September 2017, around the time that several employees spoke out about sexual harassment at the network. It formally opened a complaint in December of 2018. What? Again, I don't know if that's just like the wheels of justice or the red tape bureaucracy of most giant institutions in this. It just feels like very small things just take an unfucking believable amount of time to you're talking 14 months from the time these people spoke out to the time that they formally opened a complaint. Like, what are you waiting for? Like was it like 13 months in there? Like, all right, listen, these ladies just won't shut up. I guess we're gonna have to do something about this. In a statement on Tuesday, Fox News said it was, quote, pleased to reach an amicable resolution of this legacy matter. Yeah, I'm sure you're pleased. I'm sure you're pleased with $1 million being your amicable resolution. You fucking dirtbags. Oh, God. Quote, Fox News Media has already been in full compliance across the board, but cooperated with the New York City Commission on Human Rights to continue enacting extensive preventative measures against all forms of discrimination and harassment, the network said. I mean, yeah, for the next 4 years, at least. God. It always is the same, isn't it? Folks, we live in hell. That's why we're here. Thank you for listening, and we will be back soon. And I'm hoping to get this on some other platforms other than just my RSS feed, but I found out what an RSS feed was 1 week ago. So patience, please. Thank you. Goodbye.